The Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1. Now, if you're ready, we will begin. Go. Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio. Turn up!
Welcome to the Marla and Dave show.
Flip-flam it.
You know what? My habit almost kicked in. I almost said the Marla and Dave show, relationship CPR.
What?
Blast from the past.
That's not.
Almost just when I said it, it almost just came floating.
That's
flying
not an
right out
old
my
habit.
mouth.
That's like senility. Like what the hell is that? That was like back
No,
when
that's
we were
not
like
quite
10.
senility.
That was 2000 and what,
I
6?
reject your harmful displays of aggression towards your husband. But I'll say that I used to say that I used to say that every day.
Dave,
Every day.
harmful display of what did you say?
See, that's my point.
That would be me.
But I'm
hurling
senile.
this
Anyway,
across
this
the
is the Marla and
room.
Dave show. Welcome.
That's what that would be.
We are so glad to have you. Matter of fact, I'm so glad. Tony, give me my mood song right off the top.
Okay.
Folks started getting your head to try to make you feel misled. Don't give them that control. They're trying to keep you from
Tony,
Really?
you didn't even get to the chorus. Okay,
Really?
I'll
Really,
let
Dave?
you. I'll let Marla do hers, but then cue mine up to the chorus. That's the most important part. Hit Marla's right quick.
Till hand in hand we all unite. There's no denying, no way to fight it. You know you are the one out of the darkness.
Hey,
Wait,
I
you
like
gotta
that
shine
too.
your light.
Tony, what is going on, man?
You got to get to the shine your light. The hell? I love it. And the reason I chose that song by Josh Cadet is because we have an incredible guest with us today.
Indeed.
And here's what's so cool. I've been saying Natalie Cadet,
I have too.
but I'm gonna let her. For some kind of reason, the little accent told me that I might be effing the whole thing up. So
Effing up, that's a
Natalie,
forte.
first of all, welcome to the Madhouse.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Natalie Cadet, but I'm
Cadet. See?
Cadet.
See? I knew it.
And it's funny. I've known Natalie for a long time, and I've been saying cadet nonstop.
Because you're a
Until
black
I looked
man.
at her website, I was like, "Oh, I'm tripping."
There's a little accent there.
And Natalie is so kind. She didn't even say, "No, you're messing up." That's
Natalie,
not
you're
what it
supposed to
I'm
go
not
whoopsh.
tripping about it. I really am not.
You
is.
should
You're
have
supposed to say, "Dave,
Smack 'em.
excuse me."
Anyway, for those of you who are joining us, first of all, we want to say this, that Natalie is extremely talented in a lot of areas of music, but also your personal story we're extremely interested in. So today, we want to get into getting to know you. We want to get into your art, your music, your craft, all that you bring to the table. And what I posted is so true. Don't judge a book by its cover. Because I think, and I'm just going to throw her in this category, I have a thing that I think that a lot of women get discarded by, something that I call pretty prejudice. And pretty doesn't have to mean vacant.
Yes.
And you are anything but vacant. And so I want to talk about all of that today.
Natalie is an accomplished songwriter, producer, and arranger extraordinaire, and an incredible singer. And we're glad to have her in the Madhouse.
So, on top of that, our fans have been asking. We said, what do you guys want to see in 2018? They're like, we really want to we should bring more music onto the show, blah, blah, blah. You are not a stranger to the Marla and Dave show, which is what we talked about. I talked about that on my live feed. Because we had your song, Dear Depression.
Yeah,
Yes. So,
Layla, yeah.
shh.
Sorry.
Don't, shh.
Sorry.
No, anyway.
I told you it's the aggression. It's going to come out sooner or later.
So we're welcoming Natalie to the show today. Make sure that you stay tuned for every second of what we have to talk about. She's brought new music to our show today. We're looking forward to all of it, including our conversation. What's been happening? We can
Wow,
review.
this was, I think, the best thing that happened for me this week was when I went to see my son, DJ, and you guys all know the story. We've been talking about
No,
it
everybody may
nonstop.
not, but share it.
He is diagnosed with bipolar 1 and schizoaffective disorder. So for off and on issues that we've had. Anyway, he's ended up in jail. And he was confused for the first couple of times I went to see him. This time I went to see him. He had received his medication, which then made him realize that he needs to take medication, which then made him realize, what am I doing here? Which then made him realize, well, at least if I can't get out, let me actually start trying to help some of the guys that are in here. Which suddenly, it was like night and day from the DJ that I have seen, our son, for the past 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
It was literally night and day.
So
I'm really happy about that. I mean, it's the most awesome news that I've had in a long time. I told Marla that you don't realize how stressed you are until something that's been stressing you out for so long has been removed, and something that's like, wow, I didn't even know what happiness was.
yeah, the effect
for the past year.
was pretty
crazy.
intense.
Yeah.
But on top of that, for those who've been writing and asking, I've gotten several personal messages. You're on all of my DMs and private messaging systems. Touch base with me next week, because those people are asking, because what DJ's trying to do is pretty phenomenal.
Start a ministry
Inside the jail,
Yeah.
where he can give the essentials and the basics to the other inmates, because he says, if what we need and what these guys need more than anything is peace.
especially on the mental
And
health
they're
side of things.
and they're fighting over like essentials, soap, deodorant, and not having enough food, snacks, and things of the sort. And
Which
so
is
what?
a distraction for what they should be concerned with.
Right. So he's saying, I have an idea where we can do two things. One, occupy time by writing letters. And then two, getting churches to outreach. We want to outreach to different churches and get these
Get
particular
some help
things
supplying the basics.
met.
Oh,
So we
wow.
could write. So people are
Privately.
asking me, what's his inmate number? Because you can buy on the website.
Yeah.
But this is DJ's ministry. So I'm going to go to the jail myself on Saturday, and I will report back firsthand and let everybody know what to do and what you can do to be able to help. Because what I don't want to do is take it over and take away, number one, the purpose and intent, and not be able to utilize all that DJ plans to do. Because if you send so much stuff that he can't
not
actually
ready to deal with
actualize
at
it,
the
and
moment,
right,
yeah.
and only because right now he's dealing with his pod, which I think is about six guys.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he wants to ultimately go and
Get a
spread
system
that
that
out
works
to
for
the
his
ward.
pod, and then
Correct.
apply that to all the other pods that are in
Correct.
the ward. So
we want everything that you guys want to do. We love the help, and we're going to give you a place to help. Hang in there, and let me tell you what he decides on this next weekend's visit, and I'll post it. So stay tuned for that.
again, today our guest is Natalie Cadet. Excuse me,
You are
Cadet.
excused, Dave.
Incredible singer, songwriter, producer, and artist extraordinaire. And we are so blessed to have her in the MaD House to talk with us today. And not only just to share her music, but to share her story and talk about Natalie Cadet. So
And-
we're looking forward to that.
And as we go forward as well, I'd like to give a little update. This weekend on Saturday, I went with my friends, and I was invited out with, I hang sometimes with Vivica Fox, and we all decided to go see Proud Mary
Oh,
and support Taraji P. Henson. So there's a picture online. You guys can see that. So the girls hit the town hard and went to see Proud Mary. There's something about a girl with a gun. Can I just talk about that?
Is that a
Dave?
good thing?
I don't know.
I
Dave.
don't know. We were just talking about aggression. So anyway, quickly, because you're about to run out of time in this segment.
No, I'm just saying.
Miss Cute.
Listen. I'm a person who believes that, number one, if it's art, and especially now, that we don't believe the Marla and Dave show or anybody here in shithole countries. So I think that,
See, I didn't even go there. And I was purposely not trying to say
I've
anything
never
about
thought that
Donald
thought.
Trump on MLK Jr. Day.
So now I'm trying
Jeez.
to say anyone who's productive I'm totally down for any minority advancement on any level, especially in the arts. So whether we're going to give the movie a 10 or not is irrelevant in my book. Support the film.
There you go. Natalie Cadet is in the house. This is the Marla and Dave Show. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network. Current events, pop culture, the hot topics of the day. It's time for MaD News on the Marla and Dave radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
This first story is pretty insane. I was searching through the internet, and like I always do, for interesting stories, and this caught my eye. Katherine Lang went out of town, and she was only gone for 10 days, but when she got back, she opens the door, she hears there's food cooking.
This is a fairy tale.
She hears
Gone
noises,
bad.
she hears a couple talking, and she's like, hello, excuse me. Couple comes down. Turns out that Tigra Shepherd and her husband we're relocating to, I think, Beaufort, South Carolina. Anyway, they got scammed. And the scam went like this. You send me $1,500, you can move in, and never sent the keys, and they thought it was a mistake. Anyway, they got the keys when they got there from the scam artist, who then left to a woman's house who was not selling, was not renting. Some complete stranger rented a person who was away, rented her house to another set of complete strangers. When she gets back, she felt so bad that she feels like, man, I can't really kick them out. She worked on an arrangement with the couple to stay there till they can get on their feet.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
Now that
is just pure, that's God.
So
unless they're the scam artists and they literally have the greatest story on.
It's now a good time to let everyone here know that, Tony, we've moved in. So I'm just saying. That's one way. I mean, like, what?
So then it's crazy. I can't.
I
didn't know that those types of scams actually went down.
By the way, I was going to say, be very careful. It happens on Craigslist all the time. So just as a realtor, I tell people, be very careful, because people do this kind of thing more than one would think. So be very careful.
How about this for Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend, the greatest weekend of all time as far as I'm concerned? No, just joking. Anyway, a lady who's walking down the street at a bus stop actually suddenly comes into a restaurant and starts knocking on the windows, and they're afraid to let her in because they said it looked like her face was melting off. Just bubbling, skin bubbling. They get there, they call the police, they get there, she gets some help, and next thing you know, she says, a black woman asked me for money. I said I didn't have any, sort of panhandling, so to speak, I guess. And then immediately when she says no, she asked me for a cigarette, I say no, she throws acid in my face. As it turns out, as the police were grilling her, and this is an inside joke, and they were saying to themselves, this is not adding up. Something's not right here. Turns out she had sprayed acid in her own face and then tried to just what? Makes absolutely no sense.
Well, let me just say this. Again, compassion in my world, because, everybody's not necessarily balanced correctly. And things happen to people. And even though I'm glad that they sorted it out, I think that sometimes there's double victims in crimes like this, because you have to kind of not be well, which is, people are victimized within that. So, I'm just glad. I'm glad that nobody innocent was charged or accused. She was accused but not charged, and she came to her senses and said, no.
Before they pick somebody else up.
I did this to myself.
Yes,
correct. I'm glad about that. But yeah, it's that to me, that's a double tragedy. That's all I'm saying.
So how would you like to be crawling out of a manhole that you actually stuffed your kids into, your wife into the sewage, thinking that this is the fastest way to get to safety, when there's
just
a
to have
false
someone say, whoops, my bad.
The missile launch is not true, and there's no missile coming to Hawaii.
Now listen, we have a personal story.
Yeah.
So we have a really good friend who moved to Kauai, and David called me up. I was out this past weekend on Saturday, and he said, have you checked on Janet? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said there's an actual missile alert that has been put into I guess they sent it
They put
into
out
the
an
emergency phone. Right.
Emergency response.
And he
system.
said, and I'm concerned because her phone number is a 310, and I hope she got the alert because at the time it was before they knew it was a false alarm. So I'm calling and calling. So my friend Janet is a paddler. I finally got a hold of her. She was in the middle of the ocean paddling with her
Happened to have
friends.
signal.
She kept her phone in her dry bag. It went off, and she said we ignored it at first because there was a huge swell alert on the North Shore, and she thought, we're on the South Shore. This is what this is, until she realized it said, this is not
a test.
A test. You have 15 minutes to get to shelter. A missile has been launched, and it's going to hit Hawaii. And she said that she called her son, and she was like, listen, don't upset your sister, but I want you to know that I love you. And if something actually happens, let her know that I called and said that I love you guys. And because she's in the middle of the ocean, so what you gonna do about that?
Well, you know what? Sometimes a false alarm can actually be motivation to get ready for the real thing. So clearly the system's not working well, especially if, as it turns out, they say that somebody inadvertently pressed the button to send that message out.
Kim Jon-Un.
No.
Just want to throw that out there. Yeah.
Anyway, this has been the MaD News. We're glad to have again Natalie Cadet in the Madhouse. 323-524-2599 is the number to call. We'll be right back.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
Whatever.
Anyway, little show maintenance here. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We are so glad to have you. Wait, can we get louder applause? Like what is that little dribble thing you did? Okay. So Natalie, we have a lot to talk about with you. First of all, we want to use this first segment to get to know you. So first of all, wipe that look of fear off your face.
Natalie, you can actually be afraid of Marla because that's most people's initial response, but she's actually,
Natalie,
her bark is a lot rougher than her
David,
bite.
you stay out of this.
Unless that's what you're into.
We've hugged and chatted and talked before. Come on, she knows. Don't act like that. She looks like this. Okay.
I'm still weirded out by the story you just told.
About the
crazy, right?
missile?
Yes, that's crazy.
Oh, you didn't hear about it either?
No.
Oh, wow. A lot of people have.
She's not in Hawaii. She's here on the mainland.
And she's
my
busy doing productive things.
Correct. So, right off the bat, first of all, I have to be honest. I know you personally, and we've met several times, but I'm not the person who meets someone and goes, so anyway, well, what do you do? And how'd you get there? And what's your education? Your bio is crazy in a good way.
Okay.
Really. So just in light of just introducing the MaD family to who you are, why don't you just walk us through, first, let's talk about your education.
Okay.
And, as you
Or
talk.
family background, however you want to lay it out.
choose. But I really want to just get. The one thing that jumped out at me, and is it pedagogy? Is it
Pedagogy.
What the hell?
It's a fancy word for teaching.
Well,
That's
we
pretty
found that
much-
out,
that's
but I'm
it.
mad you made me search. My life is full of a lot of other things. I don't have time to chase this all down, Natalie. You could have just called me on the phone and said, before you get all twisted up, it's just one word, and do all your research. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
That was
We were like, man, we about to get foot
massages.
massages in the studio.
But Dave was like, I'm like, what the what?
That's hilarious.
So there's something new for all of you guys who want to know. So it's the pronunciation is pedagogy, right?
Yeah.
So which means
It's teaching.
to
Teaching,
teach.
yes.
It's the
Yeah.
art of teaching.
Yes, pretty much.
How did you even find that as a major? Like, who did someone
if
suggest
you want
that
to
to
be
you?
a teacher, that's
No.
No. See, that's the thing. I did
No.
not want to be a teacher, but it was what I actually didn't want to even go to that school initially. So
Really?
but then doors just flew open, and I'm glad I went.
yeah.
Like looking back, because I was in Utah going to school, was about to graduate, and then I didn't feel like a whole musician. I just was like, I feel like I'm in two separate worlds here, and I'm not sure what was going on. I was one of their first ethnic students, and everything was about, oh, you can be an alto if you want, and if you want, you can do this, that, and the other. And then it didn't make any sense. But when I got to Oakwood University, they're like, girl, you're a soprano. We're going to put you in here, here, and here, and here. And I was like, okay.
So now let's back up. So clearly your focus and your talent, well, we know how talented you are, but was always about music. When, for you, did you discover, okay, music is my thing?
Music was always my thing. But I wanted to go into medicine. That's where I was going to go originally.
I have another quick question, if I can interrupt for a quick second.
Go.
Did you and your sisters perform in Detroit? Or did you
sure we
perform in Huntsville?
Yeah.
At Oakwood?
Yes.
Because I could have sworn my brother sent me a tape of, is it 5 of you?
Yeah, there's 6 of us.
6 of us, but were the 5 in the
Six
Cadet
sisters.
singers?
Yeah. And then she came later,
Anyway,
the
my
baby
brother
came.
said, "Hey man, there's some young girls singing like Take 6. You got to check these young ladies out."
Funny thing though, we didn't even know who you were.
Wow. That is a
were
straight
like,
slap in my face.
This is
no, I'm just joking.
big shame going on right now in the madhouse.
I'm
on our
just
show.
joking.
We knew about Boys to Men, but we didn't know anything about Take 6.
We had-
We didn't know. No. See, that's the thing. We grew up not listening to almost anything. So we
Now, was that
were-
for religious reasons?
Yes.
Okay. Were
our-
you Mormon? Were you?
No.
She was Adventist.
We were Adventists,
I
but
never
then
know.
but it was
David, hold on, Nana. Let
ahead.
me save you for 1 minute. David couldn't even listen to the music from the electric company. You know exactly what she's talking about. Your mother muted the music. You got to watch the show, but you
That's
couldn't even
true.
hear the
But
sound.
I was disobedient, so maybe I
which
didn't
is
know.
probably a good thing.
So you grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes, and we, because of, I don't know, my parents were like, we needed you to, they discovered early that I could play and sing and did everything by ear, so they were both excited and scared. So they were like, tried to surround me with as much good music according to them as possible. So
Which is sacred music.
yes.
Yes.
And classical music.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
So
classical
you listened to
music,
Walter Ortiz and The Breath of Life.
sometimes that came a little later. But then very, very, very little gospel music and
Oh,
Little to no
even
pop and
gospel
R&B.
music
Yeah,
was
yeah,
up. Like,
yeah.
so
No.
no.
Anything with a
Walter
strong enough
Hawkins,
rhythm.
no, absolutely not.
How about what's the song you used to sing in New York? What's his name?
Song I used to sing.
Me.
Larnell Harris.
Larnell Harris.
I never sang that.
I said me. What's the song I used to
That
sing?
launched your country singing career.
Okay.
Anyway, enough about us. Natalie, finish, please.
So we basically we grew up doing that, and I took it seriously because I was like, all I wanted to do was please God and please Him again and all that other stuff. But at the same time, I had a very twisted view of Him and felt like He was always out to get me. And
Really?
I felt like I could never get it right for anybody. And then it didn't help that the community around me was extra uber conservative. So they kept telling me things like, "Oh, you're worldly, you're going to hell." But it was weird.
Why? When you
Because
you were such a rule follower, it sounds like.
I did, but then for some reason I had bad tendencies because of what was going on in my head, and I had a lot going on in my head. I had so much music, things I can't even explain how they got there. So I had to believe that God had to be in charge from when I was little, because just little things, from challenges that were, my dad would put in front of me, or just things I would run into just playing by ear. Don't ever play the same thing twice. Always improvise. Do all that. I ended up playing jazz before I knew what it was.
Wow.
So I
Wait, did people actually tell you that? Don't ever play the same thing twice?
no.
That was just your
I just
feeling like that's
played.
what you
I
should do.
played, yeah. So so I did that for a while, and I lived and breathed music. My sisters, they were the life of the party. They were just amazing.
And so there's 6 in
And-
total.
Yeah, there's
all
6 of us.
girls.
Yeah, all girls, no boys.
And where are you in
But
the lineup, by the way?
I'm the eldest.
The eldest.
Yes.
All right.
So But then I just lived and breathed music. I did it all the time until I was super tired and I'd fall asleep for a couple of hours and I'd wake up and do it again. It was just, that's all I did. So then, and then later on, as we got older, we listened to a little bit more. Always felt a little guilty because I felt like no matter what I listened to, I was going to hell. And then, then I finally listened to Take 6 at some point and was like,
see, Dave?
wow.
Wait, those guys aren't burning. At least not all of us. Anyway. Psych.
So it made sense after I heard, because people would say for the longest that that's what we sounded like. And I was like, okay, sure. So, but then.
So if you're the oldest, the span in years between you and the baby is
14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
13,
and
14 years.
everyone was singing together?
Yeah.
Wait, so when you were performing, how old was your youngest sister?
Well, she came later.
Oh,
So,
okay.
But then, so as each of us were.
You got a spot in the
born
group.
into the family, we discovered.
You were born into the group.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone planned on it. Then the fact that all of us were able to sing was a thing. So,
Okay, there you
yeah.
go. That's awesome. Well, I mean, the funny thing, when I hear you talk about the way you grew up, I can't say that it was that much different from mine, even though I probably had a little bit more exposure. But at the same time, it's funny how certain things that you're just driven to do, you just have to find out about them, even though it doesn't feel like, you know, you're going to be supported in doing it. So that's kind of sounds like the same kind of path that you were on as well.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So when did you first so were you the arranger for the group?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you just gave everybody their parts?
Yep.
Okay. Was it by rote from the piano? Did you write it down, or how'd you work it
I
out?
never wrote anything down. It was usually a head chart, or I would play it on the piano so that they could get it, but never wrote anything down.
Okay. Awesome. And so at what point did you decide that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and end up going to Oakwood, when it didn't sound like you said that you were headed in that direction?
I was not. My dad at the time was finishing his doctorate at Tuskegee University, and so we wanted to move closer, I guess, to be with him. So then we ended up moving. My aunt lives in Huntsville, and so we're thinking about schools.
Have I ever had a potluck dinner at your aunt's house? I just threw that out. It's very possible. I'm just trying to say.
I don't know. I don't think so, because I would have seen you probably.
You think so?
But,
I'm
yes.
probably 52 years older than you. You probably would have never seen me. You would have never remembered.
No, I think I would have remembered.
Okay. Keep going.
So then I started looking for schools around the area, and my parents were like, "Oh, just check it out and see." So we went there, and they were like, "Oh, you should come here. You should do this. You should do that." I'm still not convinced. And then they told me what they would do and things like that. So I just figured, I guess since the door was already open, I'll just go through it as much as I didn't want to.
Okay.
So I ended up going there, and it was, I felt, by the time every class that I took just helped me get better. I felt like the two worlds in my head and the music theory and everything else started to make sense. Needless to say, a lot of the classes I just flew by because my ear training was pretty much.
We're so good.
I knew the distances between and the relationships between pitches
There
and
you
stuff.
go.
So then I was like, oh yeah, I get it. It's
Awesome.
I'm gonna put it.
So you didn't go to Huntsville like everybody else to become an expert at vegetarian meat
God.
and to get a husband who was a minister.
Lord.
No, you didn't. Okay.
No.
I just
No.
Well, I'll put it to you like this, right quick, because we want to actually jump into some of your music as well in every segment. So tell us about Skylark.
Skylark is a tune that's we're gonna release it next week, I believe. But it's
No, you're not. You're releasing it right now here on my
yeah.
show.
This is a exclusive
Well,
debut.
That's
Here it
cute.
is,
For the
then.
rest of the world, that's what's happening to you. But right here, live on the
Good
Marla
luck
and Dave
catching
Show.
up to us. Anyway, tell us about it.
So it's basically a tune that is it's an old jazz standard. When it was written, it was not really famous. It became famous a little later. But it's one of those songs that I learned while I was in grad school at New England Conservatory and just fell in love with it. And basically what it has come to mean to me is basically talking or asking something that's bigger than yourself. Have you seen my future? What do you see in it? And what is there? And then kind of hopefully looking at it the same way, like, oh my goodness, I see so much hope in my future. Do you see the same thing?
Awesome.
Right,
well, let's listen to it.
For sure. Can we get some more volume?
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a journey over the shadow and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Wonderful music, faint as a will of a wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy serenading the moon. Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there? Lead me there.
Amazing.
Wow, man, simply beautiful. And you dropped a bomb on us right before we played the song, as you talked about your master's degree. We'll get a little bit more into that when we come right back.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience.
Excuse me, that's 58 years? Oops, I made a boo-boo.
It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real-life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
All right, the Ask Marla and Dave break in the show is where you have actually visited our website, www.marlandave.com, clicked on the Ask Marla and Dave tab, sent us the question that you want us to actually deal with right here on the air without waiting to listen to Natalie's beautiful voice or anything else that's going on in the show. We get right to it right at this break. The question for today is, I know you and Marla are big tennis fans. Yes, we are. I started watching the game of tennis because of the Williams sisters. Now I am also a fan. Do the two of you have any predictions about who will win the 2018 Australian Open signed love match? And for the first time in a long time, I think I can truly say that I truly once again believe that Roger Federer is going to come out on top on the men's side.
Okay, I have to make an announcement that as all this is going on, first I want to say to you that there's several people who are making direct comments to your song, which is, and someone, a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Anthony, said that she's wonderful. I said, you're amazing. So he just was complimenting you on that. And also you have a friend who was also, and I will get to some more comments that are happening here in the chat room. Guess what else just happened? Bomb just got dropped. So I have friends who are in the tennis world, and they're one of them who I stay in constant contact with is in Australia. And as in the last 30 seconds, one who won Wimbledon, by the way, Stephen Huss is on our thread. Everybody makes their predictions when the first draw comes out. So I'm already out.
I know you're about to not say something.
I'm out. I'm out.
Okay, so just go ahead and make your.
So I'm out.
Who were you going to predict?
I was going for Batista Agut. I believe that's his name.
Wow.
He's gone.
Wow.
So Hudie made sure that he wanted to say, ha ha ha, Marla, your male pick is already gone. He said my pick was 2,100 to 1.
I think so that we're on the same page on the women's side, though.
Yeah, on the women's side, no. What'd you say?
Did I say Kerber?
You said Keys.
Oh, Madison Keys.
Madison
yeah, that's
Keys.
exactly correct.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Madison Keys.
Listen, I got to hold true to America on some level. The other dude I was talking about performed well in the upcoming, rounds coming up to the Australian. Just whatever, Hudie, I'm still slapping you.
Marla's already wrong on the men's side. We can still hold out hope for the women's side with Madison Keys. That's because that's my pick as well. So right now, I guess I'm the only one in the running. Roger Federer. Anyway, I hope that answers your question, love match. And we're going to get back to the show.
Fun and super real. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
I just am so despondent. You know why I'm despondent
just
about
threw
that?
you off your game.
And
it's
then,
like
you know why?
you
You know why it
realize
threw
where
me
we
off my
were.
game? Because 2-3 years ago, my friend Nathan Hudie, shout out to Hudie, who lives in Australia, but I was introduced to the game of tennis by these guys. Brad Sini, shout out to him, Stephen Huss. But we've all become friends and stayed friends through the years. And he threw out some random ass pick 3 years ago, and I was like, Kerber, what the hell? And he won, and I'm like, you're the reason that betting is going on in Australia. I know it now, and in tennis, and that's not true. But we were cracking up because it was such a Kerber was the dark horse. On top of that, I was talking all kind of smack about other people on the tour, and when he won, it was so crazy because we have to pick before
Kerber,
the first ball.
You talking about Kerber?
No, when Kerber won, but also the male pick. He won
it
both.
Djokovic?
Djokovic and Kerber won that year.
Oh, wow.
And he took my actual tweets and the conversation between the two of us privately
timeline.
And posted it publicly. So it was like, oh my God. And I was saying crazy stuff like, yeah, the dog.
Like usual,
this.
what you mean.
Oh, my goodness.
I was definitely being assholery. Anyway, let's get back to the show. We got Natalie Cadet here. I just went sidetracked. I know.
Anyway, but go ahead.
What are your picks? What were your picks this year?
told you Roger Federer and Madison Keys.
Whatever.
and I think I'm going to be right.
You
Anyway,
still get to play.
Natalie, let's get back to the conversation about Ms. Cadet here.
She said that she
You
had
got
a
your master's degree from in contemporary improvisation from the New England Conservatory.
Yep.
Okay. Well, tell us how you got into the conservatory.
I applied for that in a couple of other schools, New England Conservatory and a couple of other schools in the East Coast. And then I got auditions to two of the schools, one in Peabody Institute in Maryland and then the one in Boston. And I went to both of them. One was going to be in classical and this one contemporary improv, but I didn't. It was weird because even though I've been playing jazz and then doing all of the stuff I've done with my sisters when it comes to vocal arrangements and doing a cappella and stuff, I couldn't fit into any lane. I wasn't really super educated classically in order to feel comfortable, and then I was not really educated in jazz to feel comfortable. So it's like everything they were asking for a requirement I couldn't really give. So, but I loved composition and that's what I do. So for a contemporary improv, they're like, oh, send this and this. And it felt like everything I had done all of my life had prepared me for it. All I did was send in stuff I've been doing the entire time.
Right.
And so I ended up at the audition doing in February, like 5 or 6 years ago. And then I went there, I did the test and did my auditions. I remember being as sick as a dog, still singing. And then right after that, they told me I was coming there. I was one of 2 people that day who knew where they were going.
One of 2 people. Talk about meant to be.
Yeah.
So here's something that stuck out to me that I want to kind of roll into. And I'm going to, unlike the last segment that we just came out of, and again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on all of our platforms, in Facebook and on Periscope. So UBN Radio TV. And for all the listeners as well, you and I had a private conversation, and earlier you just talked about you had so much. I heard you say you had so much going on in your head, and you had 2 different worlds, kind of that you were trying to bring together. And you sent a song in to us that was not just beautiful, but super, super impactful. And everybody now publicly knows our journey, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. But before we talk about it, I want to play the song first. Okay. All right, so if we can play
This is
Dear
Dear
Depression.
Smoke and ashes, alcohol and drugs. Though my lips have never tasted, still an addict and I'm wasted inside. Broken in pieces, you take me in and you start pimping me till I'm burdened with guilt and heartache and I'm running away. But I keep running right into you. Here is goodbye, 'cause I am through. Who says that I owe you? Who says you owe me? Take a good look and don't be fooled. There's no room in my heart for you anymore. Meaningless, harmful relationships, cutting, binging, and overdosing. Wild, extreme behavior, only crushing me and leaving me lonely. Yeah. Weary, fearful, hopeless, shameful, empty, angry. The wages are always more than I bargained for. Feeding you plenty after draining me, I'm barely alive. Always there when I fall. I thought I needed you to survive. But I am done giving in to you. It's goodbye, 'cause I am through. Who says that I owe you? Who says you owe me? Take a good look. Oh yeah, don't be fooled. There is just no room in my heart for you anymore. Fixes have always been a temporary. Something new, no, makes me wanna die. I'm in search for something more. Easy love. So here is goodbye, 'cause I am through. Who says that I owe you? Who says you own me? You gotta take a good look. Don't be fooled. There's no room in my heart
Wow.
Okay, I have to just say this.
Well, while you're waiting, before you say that, the first
I
time
wasn't
I
waiting.
heard that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you.
No, really.
No, you.
I think we're gonna say the same
No, you.
thing.
It may be.
Natalie's like,
Maybe you go. We'll see.
that song. Not only did it jump out at us before, and I hate that we weren't able to go forward and do what was promised that we could do. It is just everything about it. Sometimes you hear a song and it just hits you, because to me that song is beyond genre. Because some people will be, I don't really like jazz, or I don't really. Everything about that song, the music, the production, the lyrics, it's just, to me, it's just a punch. It's a hard-hitting classics. I could keep listening to that song over and over and over again. And by the way, part of being a creator of the Marla and Dave Show, I have that song, and I will. So if you want it, you should download it, because I'm going to actually be listening to that song over and over again, because it's in my possession now. So, I mean, good luck for you.
Well,
guys.
here's what I was going to say. What I was going to say is the first time I heard it, I was immediately impacted by the artistry, by the arranging prowess that you showed. All the musicality of it was great. But then I was also struck by the bravery of the subject matter, because you really don't hear people talking about it in the way that you did. I mean, it was just overt. And so the question then comes up, is that something that you actually dealt with? Is that something that you still deal with? Tell us about how this song came about.
This song basically came about. It took, what people don't know about it is it took 2 years to write. I didn't know it was going to be about depression at first. Before I moved to Boston to go to school, I had just had some kind of procedure done, and then I was recovering, and this tune came in my head, the da 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 da, and I was like, that's cool, but I'm not sure where it was coming from. And then I kept trying to figure out, just it was in my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then the only other thing I could think of that came along with it, trying to think of words, was A-E-I-O-U. And I was like, not sure what was going on. No, just like A-E-I-O-U, da-da-da-da-da, and that's all that ever came of it.
Wow.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, because I mean, yeah, you're letting us into your process, which is honestly, that's amazing in itself, but I don't want to sidetrack, so go ahead.
A few months later, I was in school, and New England Conservatory changed my life. I mean, I learned so much about music. I even learned so much about God in a secular setting. I didn't realize, I realized he wasn't mad at me for the first time. He was, he cared about me, and he really
This is
wanted me
after
to be
going
happy.
to a Christian school.
Yeah, where
Wow.
I thought that he was mad at me then. So,
Wow.
And funny enough, while I was at Oakwood, I did go to the hospital for cutting myself. And they told me I needed to go to therapy or else. So I was dealing with it throughout the time.
So did you ever have a diagnosis? Did anyone ever diagnose you, or you just were? These are just symptomatic things you were struggling with.
I don't think my parents knew enough to make it a
have
thing.
you diagnosed.
Yeah.
To read,
So
right.
it was not. It was. But then my therapist, when I went there, they told me that it's something I should be thinking of. That, and I was in denial about it. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't think
You
it
didn't
was a
think
thing.
it was natural though to cut
No.
yourself.
It was my way of feeling pain, of feeling something, because sometimes
At the
I
time,
was
you
numb.
didn't feel like you felt anything.
Right.
Wow.
So I kept cutting myself anytime I felt either crazy guilty, where I felt like I wanted to punish myself, or I felt numb and I wanted to feel something.
Was there anybody else outside of family that you trusted enough to share?
Nope.
So you just did all that in private. You suffered through it by yourself.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people, I remember when I started talking a little bit about it, there were some people who were skeptical, and they're like, oh, well, you were looking for attention. I said, no one knew. Absolutely no one knew I was cutting. Not even my own mother knew I was cutting. So why would
It's
I
not a
be
search
looking
for attention
Yeah,
if
no,
it's a secret.
Yeah,
Right.
I was not looking for it. I didn't, I needed, and the reason why I cut in my wrist is if I saw it, I wouldn't be tempted to keep going back. So yeah, it was pretty bad. But then at New England Conservatory, my world just kind of went up, and then it went really, really down. So and it kept going back, kept bouncing back and forth.
Wow.
So then later on, that tune came back in my head, and all I could think of trying to write the song was Smoke and Ashes. So Smoke and Ashes, da 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 da, and AEIOU.
Wow.
And it kept doing that no matter how much I tried to write it. That's all that ever came to my head. Then a year and a half passed. I ended up in the hospital 3 times. The last one, I ended up in a mental institution because I cut myself extremely severe.
Right.
And so
at that point, they were like, it's a life-threatening situation.
And my friends who thought I had been a ghost the entire time and they didn't know what was going on with me, when they finally discovered that that's what happened and I needed help, they were the ones who admitted me to. They're the one who took me to the doctor.
Ended up being really good friends.
Yeah, I mean, I love them to death because they didn't have to do that. They really didn't, and they were scared. I understand how scared they were. A friend of yours is, basically losing it, and you don't know how to handle it. So they did. And they told me that when I went to the doctor, I remember one specific friend from Iran, Nima, he was like, when you go to the hospital, don't turn your phone on. Just take the time to heal. Just rest your brain. I said, no, I can't. I have to listen to music. I have to do something. I have to do. He's like, you're going to have to, do that. And then they ended up taking everything away from you.
Right.
Wow. So it's not like I had a choice in the matter. So I ended up in the mental institution for 3 days. And it was weird because I went in there. It's like people from everywhere, from all walks of life were there. And they were there for a number of reasons, whether they had cut themselves, thought about doing something, were suicidal, a complete mess where they were just weird. Like we had to get up during the night because of alarms, because somebody decided
pull the alarm.
Yeah,
wow.
It was just crazy. Never would want to go back there.
Wow.
But yeah.
That is, man. And again, I applaud your bravery in actually confronting that. And we're going to actually talk a little bit more about this when we come back.
Yeah, because I want to find out when you come back, be prepared to let us all know what tools you were given to tackle depression during your hospitalization and your treatment.
We're talking with Natalie Cadet. We just heard Dear Depression. The MaD show is on the air, and we are loving it. Be right back.
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse. Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
I would like to throw the house at you.
Go ahead and throw the house. Be my guest.
Okay, so today
I'm about to actually put you right back in.
So today,
the same thing.
Here's my plea. I came in today, and halfway here, when I got in the car, I realized that I'd left my telephone. And normally I do a lot of posting and pressing of the show coming in. So Dave said, just log into your Facebook on my phone, which all my devices, as most of you know, when you do a lot online, they're automatically in your phone. So I just hit them and you go on, and I don't necessarily remember every password to all the 52 things I need passwords for. David, when I went to log onto his phone, co-host of the Marla and Dave show, who completely ignores most social media.
Which is why you see me here, but go ahead.
Doesn't matter. His phone prompted me from Facebook to say, allow the microphone and allow photos and videos. And I'm like, this. Anyway.
You better get to it, because I'm going to come with
Dave
it.
needs to go in the doghouse, because what you do, sir, in case you didn't know, is public. And in your public persona, there are fans and connections that you have a life that you don't have to share yourself sitting on the toilet. But you definitely have to be plugged in. If you're not just behind the scenes, you're a personality.
All right, so let me jump in.
So you're in the
before we run out of
because
time,
you won't use
only
your
got
social media
45 seconds.
To connect and do what has to be done, and it's imperative and it's important, and shame on you.
There are some things about social networking and social media that I actually abhor. And I will get into that on another show because it's another topic. But I will say this. Marla left her phone
I did.
So she was upset about that.
Shit happens.
But then she was mad at me about something after she makes the mistake. And then, because she couldn't log into her own extreme social media networking all the time page that she doesn't remember how to get into. But anyway, then we'll get back to the fact that after that happened, she literally then, I give her my phone. She can't log in. She then starts trying to dog me on my own social networks that I didn't even want to be on to begin with. So she makes a mistake, and then she gets mad at me. I have to say that Marla will go in the doghouse, at least in my book, for quite some time. Anyway, that's the MaD doghouse that Marla is actually in. That Marla's actually in. But you actually get to vote, so I'm begging you to please vote for Marla into the doghouse. We'll be right back.
What's the action? You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad. Shut up. You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
All right, so we apologize, Natalie, that you had to hear our dirty laundry like that.
Giselle Fields wants to be sure that I tell you hello.
Hi, Giselle.
Giselle, you should have called in.
Right. You can 323-524-2599 is the number. You know what? I am starting to get a little feeling that you might be right, Dave. People might be slightly afraid of me. It might be me. I don't know.
They don't know how to fight back like I do. So, it takes...
You don't have to fight me, people.
It takes a lot of years to be brave enough to fight you. So anyway.
I'm just trying to say. And Jacqueline Kelly says, I approve this sing and message. The song
and message.
Yeah. It's a little typo.
Tell Jenna Robbie said what's up. Anyway, so Natalie.
Jacqueline Kelly. Did you say Johnny Robb?
Would you please let me finish talking to Natalie?
I'm talking to Natalie, too.
Thank you. Natalie, so I guess what Marla was asking, which is a follow-up question, I'll let Marla ask it.
No, the follow-up question is, so when you were hospitalized and when you were connected with treatment, whoever was treating, what are some of the steps or treatments that you actually to be able to navigate? So I just want to know, how'd you tackle depression?
Well, they had several classes, for lack of a better term, where they had us different people get together. We did
so groups.
In groups, yeah. And we got a chance to talk about different things. So group sessions, it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
Yeah. So we had that. They did a lot of yoga-based
meditation
things. Yeah. Not only that, but talk about philosophy and principle and things like that, which I was very fascinated by because I remember one of the things they were talking about was a tree and how the reason why a tree lasts so long is because the way it's structured, it's able to bend. The branches are able to bend from side to side when the wind comes, when the storm comes, and things like that. So anything that's very rigid cannot survive pretty much. So I looked at that. I was like, oh. So they gave us different things, and I still have, funny enough, I still have the journal that they gave us to write some of our things in from the mental institution. I also have the biggest baggy pants I've ever seen that they gave me because I didn't have any clothes that they gave me. So, but I kept those things to remind myself of where I came from. And they said that you will always have these things in your head. It's a chemical imbalance. They had me on medication too, but they told me that cutting, being suicidal, doing the things that being self-destructive was not the only option.
Right.
And so they said, if you feel stuck and you feel like you can't go anyplace, start altering the behavior. Change what you're doing at that point.
And that's interesting because I will continue to share this too, because I know a lot of people now, all eyes are on us when it comes to mental health. And in one of DJ's sessions that he always allowed us to go into his therapy sessions with him, and David wasn't there one week, and when I went with D, something that his doctor said just jumped out at me, and he was talking about depression. And he said, people misunderstand. Depression is not just, oh, you're sad.
Yeah.
It's a depressed life force. And he said, and the thought that one goes before the other, meaning that you don't think about it and get motivated. Motivation doesn't happen by thought. It's movement first. You take the step, and then motivation follows that. And as a fitness trainer, I know that to be true. Yeah. You have to actually take the first step, do something. And so it's not do something and forget that you're in that particular situation and forget about it.
Right.
But I think that that's a really good thing to remember, that you have to work the steps as far as just moving. Even if you don't have to do so much, but just do a little bit of something.
Yes.
That moves you in that direction. So that's in keeping what Natalie is saying.
Yeah, but I think to Natalie's credit, she was taught to augment the behavior, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people aren't, and she accepted it to her credit. A lot of people, number one, aren't taught that, and a lot of people then have a hard time accepting. And I was going to ask you, how quickly did you accept that sort of process in changing your behavior to change your mood?
It did not happen right away. I was when I left the hospital and went back to my apartment, it was still the mess that I left. There was still blood. It was still a hot mess, and my friends helped me clean it and fix it. But I couldn't go. It was very hard to go to school, to church, to any place, because everything just felt overwhelming. And it took me a while to get back there. So
now, was the medication helping with that at all?
It was helping, but I still had to physically do something. I couldn't just.
There was no quick fix.
I still had problems sleeping. It took a while. So I was 2 months away from graduating when I went to the hospital. So, and then a month later, I ended up back in the hospital because I had seizures. The seizures due to stress, and the doctor said that you need to let go, do something about this stress because it has affected your brain. So, and I was so surprised because that happened again. These things affected me, and then when I graduated, and thank the Lord, I don't know how, but I graduated with very, very good grades, and I ended up afterwards. I thought I wanted to move on to get a doctorate degree, and I felt sad that I didn't. But you know what? All of my teachers and everybody who knew me at the time said, you need the rest. You need to go somewhere and rest. And I was so scared because I didn't want to be alone to face any kind of demons. Because I felt like I might end up back where I was. But it was while I was at my aunt's place. She was traveling and just, out. So it was just me, myself and I most of the time that I ended up writing and started writing. And that song
came back, and then the lyrics were available. Wow!
Everything came.
Wow!
And that was my first. It ended up being the first song in the album and everything else. But that was my first, basically saying, "This is it. I have to do something else, and I need to start fighting this." And I did. I mean, everything about that song changed my life, along with the rest of my writing. And before that time, I had not really written as much. And granted, I probably would have been a better writer faster from that point. But from when I was young, some pastor told me I was going to hell because of the way I was writing. I stopped writing for years. So and this is what I say to especially all of my gifted friends. Your things like music, things like that are in the arts, we already have a tendency to be a bit more melancholic, a little bit more mentally weird. And depression affects us probably like more directly. And
we call it brain differences.
We call it brain differences because creative people are different.
Yes, but then what we don't realize is these gifts that we were given, they are our superpower. And we are usually trained to think, oh, this is the stuff that's going to kill us, and we end up going away from it when in fact that's what's going to save us and that's what's going to heal us. So I ended up tapping to it, and that's what literally saved my life.
Wow. And then suddenly the floodgates of music and creativity have then opened up.
And
wow.
here I am.
That's amazing. Actually, when our youngest daughter was in elementary school, they were pulling her out of the regular classes and putting her into the gifted program. And and one of her teachers, who was an angel, really, just
She's
basically
dead now.
said, exactly. So what she said was that gifted students, in her experience, were always very, I don't want to say emotional, but sensitive.
Yeah.
And sensitivity is part of being gifted. And a lot of that is actually, I think, due to the fact that they're so gifted, they know about things and the way things feel before other kids are even aware and connect the emotional consequences of some of these behaviors. So, yeah. Anyway, so we're glad that everything worked out, not only for you, but for us, because we are blessed with a lot of good music. So,
And I just have to say as well that, this is super important for us right now, because voices like yours and others help break the stigma, because people look at mental imbalance or brain differences, whatever they are. They're not all the same, and people aren't all the same.
True.
But the bottom line is most people don't want to say because they don't want to be excluded.
Right.
Because of the stigma, they're embarrassed.
And because people don't understand it, which is, I had an incident that happened to me today. They don't get it. And I'm not expecting you to get it, but the more of us who begin to speak up and use our voices and unite our understanding in one voice, it will begin to erase the stigma. So people who are brain different, I think that the biggest travesty I feel is the stigma is so deep a lot of the times it keeps you from using your gift.
That's true.
And that is a travesty, that there are so many lost gifts.
Yes.
Because people try to mute themselves down instead of there being an understanding so these gifts can be used.
Yes.
We try to wipe them out and make them, which is a complete departure from what you were gifted to do and who you are.
Right.
And listening to you, one of the things that I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, is this was always a God-intended gift. You were born with this.
Yeah.
And everything also has its challenges and its burdens. So I feel like, it's an extra blessing to all of us who get to hear the music and to get to meet and understand who you are, that you were able to bring these things and keep them intact.
Right.
So that's a blessing for sure.
Indeed.
And you know what?
And that's awesome.
There's also a bitch called karma. What kind of segue is that? One that makes me happy. I'd like to say that again, and then we'll talk about it, because technically, in case you didn't hear what I said, there is a bitch called karma, and we're going to take a listen.
Here comes that bitch called karma, so right in all her glory. She came to stir up drama, came calling your God history. Never can run away from it, never can get you away with it. Waking up from a bad dream, but only to live a nightmare. It's karma. Live your mistakes down and those demons come back up. Hide your regrets and they come back to show you up. Didn't give a damn about love, now turn to jealousy. The things we don't speak of, now part of history. The lie you told yourself is now part of who you are. The truth about yourself is what people take too far. Hell had no fury like when life comes back to bite. Bitch called karma. Unpack a deadbeat cliche. What goes around comes back around. But only karma's payday is like some time will. Never can run away from it, never can get you away with it. Waking up in a bad dream, but only to live a nightmare. It's karma. Live your mistakes down and those demons come back up. Hide your regrets and they come back to show you up. Didn't give a damn about love, now turn to jealousy.
brackets.
Whether awake or whether you're sleeping, it's called karma. She knows where you eat and where you've been creeping. It doesn't matter if you change or rearrange your life. Karma, bitchin', she down for a just when you think that all is forgotten, it's called karma. Nobody cares, don't have any reason. And just when you've begun a new season, the soft lady sings. Live your mistakes down and those demons come back up. Hide your regrets and they come back to show you up. Didn't give a damn about love, now turn to jealousy. The things we don't speak of, now part of history. The lie you told yourself is now part of who you are. The truth about yourself is what people take too far. Hell, half of you real like when life comes back to fight. It's a bitch called karma.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is wow. It's a play on words, but the song is A Bitch Called Karma. It's from her project, My Journey. It's available on iTunes. I suggest you get it quick.
Download.
Lee.
That's the word. Hal Hill gave us that word when we were here the other day. Download it. Man, how long did it take, and how good do you feel that it sounds like you've gotten to a point where you no longer let your gifts and your art be altered by the process and opinion of others.
How long? Or
yes, how long? Number one, and what was that? Yeah, so that's a huge departure for a lot of people. That especially when you're raised the way that we were, because for those who don't know, being raised in a Seventh-day Adventist church and the criticism, it's like Orthodox Judaism. Number one, just to give some people another point of reference. But man, I feel like that when God gives you a gift, you are at his use, period. And that's where his joy and connection with you comes in. So I want you to speak on that just a little bit when we come back, how you freed yourself to truly express yourself. That's the question.
Okay.
David, that's it. Get that.
Don't say anything is what you're saying. Shh. All right, so we'll let Marla have the last word. We'll be right back.
It's time to play the Marla and Dave Love Game. Here are Marla and Dave to explain how it works.
All right, the MaD Love Game, as you know, is a game created by Marla and me. It's a game comprised of 3 categories, the categories that we think impact most relationships: sex, communication, and finance. The pause was on purpose. Anyway, it is literally played by rolling a single die. The die has those categories, as well as the MaD logo, which makes it wild. And of course, when it's wild, you have to have sex. Anyway,
oh my God.
Or you could lose a turn, and then someone else can be wild. And anyway, I'm just joking. Anyway, we're going to let our guest, Natalie.
Have you not had enough sex with this game?
We're going to I encourage everyone to get this game. It encourages you to have sex. I'm just saying, no, it really does. Anyway, this is, I'm going to pass the die over to our guest, Natalie. She can roll
there's
it.
no such thing, Dave, as a vegetarian porn star, because you'd definitely be one. Here we go, Natalie.
I'm sure there are vegetarian porn stars.
I don't mean vegetarian. I mean
turn the camera on.
Yeah,
anyway, here we go.
Okay, I'm just rolling.
Just roll it, yeah.
It's sex. Natalie, too.
Is it really sex?
Worthington, I don't know what's happening here on our show. It is sex.
Man. Okay, Natalie.
Dave has influenced Natalie. It's terrible. Influence her in music, Dave, not in your wily ways.
So this is literally. First of all, I'm going to tell you the answers actually and the questions come from the Pew Research Center. This question is for you, Natalie. What has more nerve endings, the clitoris or the head of a penis? In your opinion, what do you think has more nerve endings?
Go with the clitoris.
Okay,
I'm not a guy, so I can't really speak from,
You've not felt, you don't have personal experience in feeling the nerve
heads
sensation.
are pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say it is, because I didn't think there was that many, especially like for the past few years. I didn't think there was, when I've come to know myself sexually. I didn't realize I was that sensitive. So,
Congratulations. Well, Natalie, and the reason why I say congratulations, it seemed ironic.
I can't.
Of course,
I'm sorry, guys.
But actually, I'm saying congratulations because she got the right answer. The clitoris or
As I've
clitoris
come to know myself sexually, well, congratulations.
has twice as many nerve endings as the penis. I don't even know if I agree with that.
David, you don't have a clitoris.
I know.
But let me say this.
Actually, God told me I did.
Okay, stop. You keep trying to
Come
hold
on,
on my
girl.
parts. Just fall back. Here's the problem. The issue is this. I believe that to be true, and let me tell you why. Because most women who talk amongst ourselves, most women have a better chance of having an orgasm with external sexual stimulation than internal. Most people, the penis doesn't necessarily go in and hit the spot, but most women can be brought to climax through clitoral stimulation.
All right, so
or if the guy's patient and wants and cares about
you getting yours
exactly.
instead of him just getting his.
Exactly.
No veggie dogs here.
So,
Get back, Big Frank.
I know you're not trying to
There's
diss me.
something new.
I know you're not trying
No.
to diss me. Anyway, so for further, each card has a further discussion question to it as well,
Okay.
which makes it super fun to play with your friends. So,
that's cool.
the further discussion question for this card is: are most
What else?
female orgasms clitoral
We
or
just
vaginal?
talked about it. They're clitoral.
I said most. What are they?
For the most people, it's definitely. I think I can only discuss I'm only my own single person.
Yeah.
And I don't mind discussing from personal experience, but I can say that from most of my group conversations with other females, it's definitely through clitoral external stimulation.
Well, you know what? I'm going to have to
Cunnilingus.
have another man cave to have a man's discussion on that.
Well, I'm gonna have a girls' night out before that, and all we're gonna talk about is the lack of sensation in the penis head.
Even though you guys don't have penises?
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, this has been the
Mad
Mad Love Game. Thank you, Natalie, for playing with us. You can get your own copy of the Mad Love Game by going to www.marlandave.com, clicking on the Mad Merch tab, and there you'll see the Mad Love Game along with other cool stuff from the Mad family. Back to the show.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
I'm
It's
so
time for the
tired.
poll question quick before you get back to the
Having to
topic.
apologize to our guest, Dave, for you and your.
I'm just having fun.
cool.
But Marla,
Oversexed.
literally tell us about the poll question.
Last week's poll question is traditional marriage an old school idea? Yes, hashtag dying, it's a dying institution, or no, hashtag alive and well.
And apparently 67% said, wait, did they forget that? 67% said, yes, it's a dying institution. That's very strange.
Dave, why is that strange? How many people?
I don't like
do
you
know-
guys, you 67ers.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
Would you like them better if they were 69?
69. I knew they were going there.
You know me well. Anyway, and 33% said no, alive and well. So that doesn't quite naturally jive with the statistics
principles.
nationally or even my principles. But I will tell you this. Clearly it jives with the Marla and Dave fans, or just Marla voted a bunch of times.
Just ask yourself this question before we even go on. Think in your head, how many people amongst our peers and the people we personally know are married versus unmarried? That's the answer to the question.
Anyway, Marla, what's the poll question for next week?
For next week, you can find it on our website. It'll be posted at www.marlandave.com. Make sure that you go there. Look for the poll question. Vote. That's where you'll find it.
We're going to get back to the show.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
All right, Natalie, we literally have been listening to your music, which is over the top.
We
It's
had a question,
amazing.
though. She has to answer that question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you
What
remember
was the question?
Something
Remind me
about
too.
how how did I come to liberate myself through music?
Correct.
And then how does it feel?
Right. So how long did it take her to get to
good.
the point where she let her she didn't edit her gift?
I think after the hospital was a big turning point for me. After being in the mental institution was a big turning point. So once I got there, and then a lot of other things were going on in my life. Like I was in bad relationships before, and I didn't care about myself and all of that. So the writing and engaging myself in music, it freed me. Every song I wrote was some kind of new discovery based upon things I struggle with. The concept of beauty, the concept of being a side piece, the concept. There was just lots of things. So yes.
Stop. So you didn't think that was that an issue for you yourself, or just the concept? Did you look in the mirror and not see yourself attractive?
I didn't feel beautiful. It wasn't. I think I can speak for a lot of women who find themselves when people are like, oh, you're so gorgeous and whatever it is, and they feel like you're gonna get by in life a whole lot more. I don't know what world they think we're living in, because it's not easy. One, especially in the industry, and I'm working my way towards this music career that I absolutely love and want. But they look at me and it's this chick that sings, this chick that does this. They'll completely sidetrack anything else that matters to me just because they think that I don't have anything in my brain. And so
based on how you look, pretty
based
prejudice.
on how I look, and I don't, and I
to coin Marla's
hate
phrase.
that. So there are times when I have, for example, I have this session and I have to do certain things, and then they're like, well, do you have a chart for this or whatever? I said, I'll just make one. And then in my head, I'm like, I'm busy. I have so much going on and I do not have time. I still take out the time to do it. And then I show up with charts, with recordings, with everything. They all look at me like, you're the chick that gave us charts, that gave us this. And they
As if that's not even possible.
As if that's not possible. And I feel like I have to do that. I have to, it doesn't matter.
You got to go 55
I have
miles
to go
around the corner.
A lot more, just because I have to prove that I'm not the chick that you can step on, or the diva that wants to own just pretty much take over. I'm part of a team. I know how to, it's just a thing. But back to the answer of the question, it's, there are a lot of things that I had to learn to embrace about myself. Mm-hmm. And to own about myself. And music helped me get there. After the hospital, I stopped caring about what everyone thought of me. And I said, I'm going to listen. Music, I also told God this. I was like, God, I don't know what plans you have for music, but I need this to be about you, me, my personal, discovery and identity and self-acceptance. And that's it. And I came to realize that God gave these superpowers to us to heal us first. And only when that happens, we become this, this catalyst
this
for
tool.
Other people. Yeah,
right.
the tool. But then we have to do it for us first. So I started doing that. That's why I wrote Depression without thinking twice about what people were going to say or think or feel. Because it's like, I needed this I wrote this song for myself first. I don't care about anyone else right now. I needed this. And then from there, it was a thing. So now, as far as religious and the religious experience, I don't even consider myself that connected. I feel free because I feel like humanity, they're my family.
Right.
Period. I don't care,
And your relationship is with the Creator directly.
Yeah. And music, for all intended purposes, and for lack of better terminology, that's my religion. That's my connection.
Right.
So I feel that, and I'm okay. I feel so free not having to worry about that.
I love that.
So.
Again, her project is called My Journey. You can get it on iTunes. Her website is nataliecadet.com. NATALIECADET.
And we'll post that.
Yeah, we'll have all that on the website this week. So the great thing is you're in a new mode of discovery. So what I want to know is what's next on the musical horizons for you?
I'm pursuing different things in music. I'm doing a lot of songwriting. I'm currently in a project called Rush Through History, where I'm one of the principal songwriters, and we're tracing basically blues from its roots and its offspring today. So it's a lot of music and it's so much fun. And my partner Carl Gustafson, he's the guy who writes all the lyrics. And by the way, Karma was not just written by me. Alex Teamer,
awesome.
giving a shout out to Alex. Teamer helped me write the song, and it's not out yet. It's going to come out within the next few months. So
awesome.
So as far as direction, I am pursuing songwriting, composing for film and TV, music-wise, and orchestrating and that kind of stuff. I love doing all of it, and why not?
Awesome. I love it. Right quick, you teach at Musicians Institute,
yeah.
And you just said that you came back from a recruiting trip.
Yes, my team and I from Musicians Institute, we went to South Korea, Seoul, and we hit up like, I don't know, 8 schools. At least
By
8 different
chance,
schools.
was there anything that you guys could create or arrange that would calm Kim Jon-Un? No? Nothing?
We wish.
Yeah. I mean, if you
We
guys
wish.
can, we would like that.
Yeah, but it was a great trip. The people there were amazing. The food was good too. But
Now, what do you teach over at Musicians Institute, by the way?
I'm a vocal instructor first of all, and then I do everything else. Like I teach harmony and theory, ear training, project recording.
Can you
vocal
teach ear training?
performance, live performance? But
Yeah.
yes, you can. And I wish more academic institutions did that. Musicians Institute is one of the few. So did New England Conservatory, and that's why I am so grateful to that school for doing that. Because
Shout out
We
both
gotta- we
to
gotta-
Musicians
we gotta
Institute and
connect
Natalie
Natalie
Cadet.
with Lexi.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot
for
of
sure.
people.
Yeah.
A lot of people
For sure, without a shadow of a doubt.
connected to Natalie.
Man, you know what? It always does us good when we sit down in the Madhouse and just have a really intense one-on-one conversation because you learn a lot. So I'm really, really, really glad you came to see us. And the bonus is I'd like for you to come back. So anything that you have on the horizon coming up, if you want to just stop by, which happens to a lot of our friends all the time.
And you don't have to be afraid to get into the girls' night out because Marla, when I'm not here, Marla's not quite as vicious. So
Girls' Night
Just
Out,
why is
we
that?
are. And if you ever want to, debunk what you thought maybe about the difference between nerve endings between an actual penis head and a clitoris, you can do that on Girls' Night Out. We talk about any and everything. Matter of fact, I think the next Girls' Night Out that I have planned
it's next week.
No, it's not next week, but I've got Vivica Fox is going to come through in a few weeks, and she's got some stuff coming up that she wants to talk about. And we're going to make that a girls' night out, and just, Vivica, don't bring the men of black magic. Not enough of all of that.
Natalie,
but we've got
right-
Natalie. Natalie, where can they find you online?
social media or
Yes.
Cadet Natalie. You can find me on my personal page is public. Natalie Cadet Natalie. For Instagram, same thing with Twitter.
Facebook,
So, yeah.
Twitter.
Twitter.
There
Yeah.
you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. It was
Not
a
only
pleasure.
sharing your music, but sharing your story. We love it. Much success, continued success to you, and please come back.
Thank you.
I clean up well. I'm a really good background dancer. Okay, in case you didn't
good.
see these tights.
Yeah.
Yeah, dropping it like it's hot.
Yeah.
Okay, just keep that in mind for the next. Okay. Little background noise going on here in the studio.
Anyway, this has been the Marla and Dave Show. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.